So, I will be very brief, so I expect us to have some discussions after my presentation. So, enabling a national economic diversification policy and depending less on a single revenue source. Looking at Saudi Arabia and UAE as a case study in this ongoing discussion, some will say attack on oil and gas, some will say trying to make the earth better, and some will also say increasing poverty. So my concern here is not too much of the politics. My concern here is intellectual property law. My concern is how IP, from studies and from reality, has actually enabled. IP is one of the incidences, subjects that we've seen from my personal studies and from scholarship out there that has made life interesting and a little bit easy in terms of economic development of nation states, entrepreneurs, and individuals. So, we have seen the recent events happening in the Middle East, the Gulf states. We've seen what Saudi Arabia is doing with the smart city. We've also seen, prior to Saudi Arabia, drive to diversify the economy, which is now a national policy. Because as we are aware, the price of oil and gas all over the world is going down. So most countries like Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and the rest of the countries that depends or depended entirely on the extractive industry have to be smart about it, have to look forward, because we are told 50, 100 years from now, there might not be oil in the ground, which is, engineers, geologists disagree with that. In any case, the reality is that we have to change. Humanity has to change and confront realities we have on global climate. So Saudi Arabia has their own policy 2030. UAE has their own policies of diversifying, using the resources of oil to venture into other areas of the economy, especially like tourism, agriculture, and the rest. So Saudi Arabia came in late into the game. They've acceded to, as early as this year, they acceded to one treaty that deals with intellectual property, which had to do with the Olympic rings. But in my opinion, there's a lot to do, because the fundamental treaties regime that will impact their effectiveness, like the WIPO copyright treaties that was an answer or reaction to the digital economy, making copyright, patent, trademarks respond to technological productions. They've not acceded to those ones yet. They've not acceded to the Beijing Audiovisual Performance Rights Treaty. But good enough, UAE is ahead of the game. They have acceded to most of these major treaties, Ben's Convention and the rest, TRIPS. Yeah, Saudi Arabia has done TRIPS too. But why do we really have to put more force on IP regimes? We know as scholars and as lawyers, businessmen, that we know that from 1996, when WCT came into being, although they were a parable of horribles by scholars, legal scholars, lawyers, that is going to destroy creativity. Contrary, we've seen that that law has impacted positively on nation states and individuals. I would say boldly, that as a result of a change in jurisprudence, legal regimes, right, through WCT and states that have changed their laws to reflect, like America did theirs, digital copyright management, digital management copyright acts, and some other countries have changed their laws to reflect that treaty. We have iTunes. Before now, it was difficult for you to get music, but you can download music for cheap now. Although somebody says that's related, because in some countries of the South Hemisphere, $1 is still difficult to get. But in any case, we have Netflix, we have WhatsApp, we have Google, Google, we have Microsoft, we have Facebook, very popular, we have Instagram, where the young folks like me, we have Snapchat, like my daughter would say, Daddy, that's not for you, go to Facebook. Snapchat is for you, you are too old. I don't know. In any case, that tells you how decentralized and liberalized these technologies have been. There are social benefits, there are political benefits, and there are economic benefits, because YouTube has actually made people rich in the developing economies. There are a series of cases now where kids from poor backgrounds have been creative on YouTube and actually maximize their creativity because they're getting paid for every click of you watching their content. So that's in a nutshell why, if you upscale that nationally and do it properly, first, having a good structured legal system that will protect those creativities, those innovations, and of course, IP, now we have a lot of subsectors of IP, we mentioned a few here. We have the big ones, the traditional ones, patent, copyright, trademarks, trade secret, designs. Now we have things like geographical indications, which if nation states, especially, I am aware, I've been here for like about 4 months now in the Gulf, I've seen the richness of the agricultural products, eating the dates, I've seen the beautiful attires, traditional attires here, I bought some now. Very soon I'm going to be an Arab very soon in my dress because they are beautiful. Yes. I'm proud to now, most of the developed countries, entrepreneurs, they came to the Southern Hemisphere and misappropriated our cultures. I'm still on the zone of geographical indication. We have the case of the Maasai people in Ethiopia, in Kenya, Uganda, where Louis Vuitton for years were using their traditional trademark attire until lawyers, IP lawyers, called them, you can't be doing this. You are using these people's cultural and this question of public domain. When it comes to the developing countries, we are always having the exceptions. We're talking of public domain, we are talking of there is no law to protect it. Yeah, there is law. There are laws to protect it. It's just that you don't want to protect it because it favors you. I mean, you extended the tenure for copyright because of Disney influenced you to do that to 70 years. Sonny Bono. Now, AI is going to be granted patent and legal rights within a short period of time. And we've been talking about granting traditional culture, folklores, legal rights for the past 30 years. in WIPO, in UN. We still don't agree. So nation states should now wake up, just like Saudi Arabia is doing, just like UAE is doing. And in fact, something blew my mind because I've been doing this research for the past 3 years now. I've published 1 or 2 papers from it. I discovered that Saudi Arabia, actually in the real terms of reality, is the only country in the developing world right now that has consciously and proactively talked the talk and walked the walk when it comes to diversifying their economic resources, revenue. Because what is happening there in the Northwest, the Neom city, is a manifestation of the force, the political force that is needed in nation states to use IP and change the trajectory of their revenue base. UAI, yes, I could be a little bit biased because I live in Saudi Arabia now, but UAE on the other side, legally, structurally, has been ahead of most of the countries because they've gone all out to accede to most of the fundamental treaties. They've focused on tourism, but how well is the legal regimes to protect the tourism industry in terms of IP? How would foreign investors feel comfortable coming with their trademark-based creations, innovative widgets, and traditional creativity to showcase in a trade fair? Now we have a beautiful thing going on now, Expo 2020. How are the laws here that will protect people displaying their wares even in public without the fear that some smart creators are coming to steal their products, designs, their business plans, and the rest? So this is why we should up our regimes and enforcement, the promotion of these IPs. So I'm going to wrap up right now. So in my studies, I traveled to Africa, and I talked to a lot of scholars and IP scholars, and Ethiopia, Nigeria, and I discovered that actually we need to do something about the future. And the future in terms of the expertise in this area of law, IP, is a little bit poor. The lawyers that we have now, we don't have much experts. Yeah, we have, but they are not enough to, like I would say, be the disciples of IP. So the law schools in this region should look into their curriculum on how to de-emphasize doctrinal teaching, theoretical-based teaching, combine doctrinal with experiential. I made a suggestion in recently, I think it's been published. I don't know what I have it in this slide because it just came out. Yeah, I think you have it there. So it's just been published, a week ago. So if you have time, read it. I don't think it's open source, but because we are scholars here, if you want it, I can give you for personal use. I can give you a copy for personal use. Shoot me an email. I think you have my email. We'll publish it after the slide. So anybody who wants to read it can send a copy to you. So in essence, IP is going to be more relevant in the next few years. Are we ready? Is the Gulf Arab states ready? Is Africa ready? And I say we should be ready. we are not yet ready. Thank you.